When we were kids, we get influenced by our surroundings, from our family to our friends to our birthplace. Every beautiful experience and every even so sad and devastating experience shapes a person. But one day we will all have one experience that will stand out, one that will change who we are. It will awaken something we didn't know before. A dream. Everyone has different dreams. Maybe you want to be an astronaut, a private chef, a Hollywood star, or you want to become the best artist in the world. But sadly, time is a finite resource for all of us. At first, you maybe started as a hobby, invest time in research and practice your skills. But you get older, you go out with your friends, do fun stuff and make lots of great memories. The years pass by and you start doing less. And then you will get a partner. You fall heads over heels in love. You go on dates and lie in bed all night and share your greatest stories and your biggest secrets. And now you invest even less time in the dream you once had. You just don't have the time you used to have back then. You're an adult now, you have responsibilities and things you need to take care of. And the dream you had as a kid is nothing more than that. A dream you once had as a kid. A fading memory that visits you in the most unpredictable moments. You see a kid in front of you, and with sadness and regret in his voice he asks you, "What happened? I thought we had a plan. Why did you stop?" You try to explain yourself and tell the kid that it's just life. You just don't have the time you used to have. But then you start stuttering and ask yourself, what if he's right? What if I had done more? What if I had done everything I could have to achieve my dream? How would my life look like now? The kid looks deep in your eyes and asks you, what if you could change it? Would you be willing to give up everything you have? How important is this dream for you? How far would you go to achieve your dreams? How much are you willing to sacrifice? And this leads us to the most hated character in all of fiction. But is the hate truly deserved, or was Griffith simply a child who refused to let go of his dream and in the end sacrificed too much for anyone's good? My name is Sam and today I want to talk about Griffith and ask the question, does the dream justify one's actions? Or rather, why the eclipse was inevitable? But before we start, I need to clarify something. Griffith is a piece of shit, no discussion needed. So I'm not trying to say that he's a good person at heart or that his actions were good. This video does not serve the purpose to defend him, neither do I say, actually he did nothing wrong. However, today I want to get a little bit more philosophical than usual with you. So I ask you to try and take a step back and look at Griffith from an objective perspective. Griffith is one of the best written characters in all of fiction. A big indicator for that is that everyone who read or knows Berserk hates Griffith with an undying passion. Though I think Griffith is a character that goes much deeper and is much more multifaceted than people actually give him credit for. I don't know if Miura intended Griffith to also offer another perspective or if it's just an interesting coincidence, but when you reread Berserk, you start doing it differently. Because you know what will happen next, you're not as invested as before. This means that you will start to wander off. You start to read between the lines. You look more closely at the art and everything that is happening. You will start noticing the smaller details, like gestures, expressions or the composition of the page. And when you start to look at Berserk, not from the perspective of Guts, but rather from the perspective of a silent, all-knowing watcher, you will notice that Griffith is not what he seems to be. For us, he's a character to channel our hate towards. He is the reason Guts did what he did, and he's the reason Guts will be doing what he does. Griffith is a character that gives Berserk its purpose, a reason to get our MC going, and a reason to find allies, grow and change, and hopefully one day achieve his own dream. In our story, Griffith is the villain we needed, but in his own story, he is the hero he always wanted to be, the kid who should have never stood a chance in life, the man who sacrificed everything he knew and loved just for the chance to achieve his own goals, the White Hawk who clawed his way to power for a dream he refused to abandon, the Wings of Darkness who will one day change the world, the God-Hand Femto. Griffith is a man who sacrificed everything for his dream. But the real question is whether the dream itself is worth the sacrifice it demands. He was born in extreme poverty in the back alley of a medieval world. He often struggled for even the most basic necessities like bread. We don't know much about his parents or the people who raised him. But we do know that even as a child, Griffith had to be self-reliant to survive. Through his upcoming, he always dreamed of being more. Someone with status, someone who is loved by many, and someone who will one day lead his own kingdom. At a young age, he received a crimson beret from an old fortune teller, who prophesied that one day he would conquer the world. So now his dream was set. And can you blame him? A child born in poverty who knows nothing but to survive alone in the streets. He started to do everything he could to make his dream come true. He learned how to be charismatic and how to behave like a noble. He developed a keen intellect and learned how to lead people. Griffith became a person that inspired others but also became someone who got envied. He is a man that cared about others and someone who expressed his compassion towards his comrades. Sometimes he seems even carefree and childlike. However, he is also cold, logical, and intelligent. Someone who shows no mercy to his enemies and someone who is ruthless on the battlefield. Ultimately, everything is a tool for him. His horse, his sword, his comrades, and in the end, even himself. You know, Griffith never had any friends. The band of the Hawks are his comrades, but none of them was his friend. Because Griffith described a friend as a person who dreams his own dream. Someone that is equal to him. A standard no one was able to fulfill until the day Griffith met Guts. Together they achieved incredible things. The Band of the Hawks, his mercenary group, became known and feared. Together they fought many battles, until they finally ended the 100-year war between Midland and Tudor. This was so significant that Griffith was knighted and became officially a noble. Guts knew how Griffith described a true friend, and because he loved the Band of the Hawks and saw Griffith as a brother, he decided to leave the mercenary group to find his own dream. After leaving the group, Griffith got distraught and seduced the princess of Midland. This led to his arrest, and the Band of the Hawks became disgraced knights and got hunted. Griffith wasn't simply arrested. He was tortured, cut out tongue, tendon severed, scarred, and nearly starved to death. The man who was so close to achieving his dream just lost everything right before the finish line. The kid who thought it couldn't get any worse than that ended up in an even worse situation. Through pure coincidence, Guts heard of the arrest of Griffith, and together with the Band of the Hawks, he helped him to escape. But Griffith changed. He could no longer achieve his dream. Now, it is impossible. So, back to my question from the beginning. How important is this dream for you? How far would you go to achieve your dreams? How much are you willing to sacrifice? Griffith asked himself this question, and his answer is why we all hate him so much. He chose to use the Crimson Beret and summon the God Hand. Griffith sacrificed everything he had, the love, loyalty, and humanity around him. He literally sacrificed himself, his body and mind, his identity. He was no longer Griffith, the leader of the Band of the Hawks. He became Femto, the Wings of Darkness, the fifth member of the God Hand. The Eclipse is one of the most famous plots in all of manga. It's not only important for the story and for Guts to have a reason for revenge and thus later character growth, but it also beautifully shows what kind of man Griffith really is. The Eclipse wasn't just a horrific event. It was the logical extreme of ambition without morality. An inevitable consequence when a person's life only serves one purpose. The answer to a question that will only be asked when you reach the end of the road. The Band of the Hawk weren't just soldiers. They were living proof that he was already loved, already respected, and already a leader. But because that didn't match the dream in his head, he destroyed the reality in front of him, for a future that may never satisfy him. When Griffith sacrificed the Band of the Hawks, he not only sacrificed them literally, he also sacrificed the past. When every bridge is burned, you only have one way to go. Of course, the Eclipse is fictional and a metaphorical extreme to the question, though I believe it shows how far someone can go when the only purpose that lets someone go on in life gets taken away from them forever. Femto is genius as a villain, because we don't understand him. We as the reader don't know his thoughts or plans, we don't know his true feelings or if he regrets what he has done. But he is the villain in our story, and no context can change that. He has done things that have nothing to do with his dream out of pettiness. He has done unspeakable things just to establish his power or to get under Guts' skin. However, he is also the hero in his own story. He is the kid who never let go, a dream that gave him a purpose to live, something to hold on to in his darkest days. He achieved his dream, but at what cost? Was his dream truly noble, or was he just a kid desperately clinging to a future he could never have? On the surface, it would seem like his dream of building a kingdom would serve others. You could even argue that he solved racism with uniting the humans and monsters. But in the end, this dream only serves himself. This matters because if the dream itself is selfish, then sacrificing everything for it isn't just extreme, it's hollow. The irony of his dream is that he sacrificed himself, the very thing he would need to enjoy the final results of his work. Griffith never appreciated what he already had, the love, loyalty and humanity that surrounded him, the friends and the memories he made along the way. But sadly, it was never enough for him. He created a future in his head that didn't let him live in the present. So, now I want to ask you, would you have done the same? Would you do what Griffith has done if it meant you would achieve your own goal? Does a dream justify one's actions? Or do the actions define the worth of the dream? I ask you this because I think Griffith's choice isn't a real tragedy. I ask you this because I believe we can all recognize a piece of him in us. We all had dreams when we were young. Some of us moved on and let go, while others are still trying to achieve their goals, and for some, it's a fading memory that visits them from time to time. Every day we sacrifice friends, family and loved ones. Every day we sacrifice things and do what we believe is a lesser evil. Every day we act selfish to get one step closer to the things we want the most. Every day we end up being the villain in another one's story. But in the end, everyone is a hero in their own.